the Tuesdays with Tillis Facebook group, and also the Triangle Talk Show podcast YouTube page. I'm Gary Pierce, and this is not a Triangle Talk Show podcast, although if you're curious, that's where this technology is coming from. This is the Triangle Talk Show. But what I'm doing is rebroadcasting the Tuesday with Tillis virtual Tuesday protest. And there's all the folks that have gathered. It hasn't quite started yet. It'll start in about a minute. People are just introducing themselves and getting going. Sounds like they're going to get ready for a song.
Woke up this morning with my mind, stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind, stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind, yeah, stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Yeah, woke up with justice. Woke up this morning with my mind, stayed on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind, just stayed on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind, stayed on justice. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm sitting and listening based on, sitting and listening with my mind on freedom. I'm sitting and listening with my mind. Oh, stayed on freedom. I'm sitting and listening with my mind. Oh, stayed on freedom. I'm sitting and listening with my mind. Just stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. First verse again. I woke up this morning with my mind. Stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind. Just stayed on freedom, yeah. I woke up this morning with my mind, stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Julie, who's here for the first time. I don't think anyone else is here for the first time. Yes? Is anyone else here for the first time?
I'm on Zoom for the first time.
Welcome, Galia. Welcome. She's been marching around every week. This week we're all here instead of there. I feel like we're just as powerful on Zoom in our own special way. So I'm really glad that you're with us, Galia, here in Zoom instead of marching around today. Congratulations on your beautiful op-ed that you wrote and the work that you've been doing.
Oh, they carried it. Ha!
I don't know if they carried it. I just love what you wrote. Okay. We're hoping that they carry it.
Right. And Duff's coming too.
Good. So my friends, welcome to week number 167. I feel in my heart that as long as we keep gathering together and learning together and resisting together, we don't have to be on the street in bad weather, and we can get stronger during this time. So thank you. Thank you so much. It's just beautiful to see all of your dearly beloved faces. I've gotten a little loose with planning, but as Diane mentioned, as we were coming on, this issue of voter suppression, specifically concerning Wisconsin, is something I wanted to make sure that we delve into. And Mike is going to help us do that, Mike Eisenberg. And also, I sent Cliff an email like at the very last minute about talking about how to get rid of Tom Tillis. I thought that was something that we should talk about. Hey, Cliff, you want to do a few minutes on that later?
Oh, I'm not prepared to do that, but I'm open to hear other people's thoughts about the best way to go about defeating Tom Tillis.
Okay. I want to make sure we talk about that. And I really appreciate that you keep reminding me of that, because it's got to be at the top of our list. Rand is going to sing a little bit in the middle. Mike Flaherty's going to close with it's Vote Him Out, right? We're doing Vote Him Out at the end. And also, I thought if possible, we might call on you, Doyle, just to see if you have anything you want to share with us about the virus that you could do more than any of us. Just see if you want to do that.
Now?
You want to do it now? Yeah, do it now.
Okay. Well, I think that I find myself going in and out of a funk about this, because I just can't help but be so upset that the Trump administration really waited 70 days to engage after the first alerts were coming in. And, he is going to have blood on his hands. It's just dreadful. The other thing that's really concerned me is, our neighbor state, South Carolina, is allowing people to work and congregate and, go to beaches and stuff. And there are, 6 or more other states that have not restricted flow. And this is dangerous to all of us because we all travel. And that the president doesn't have the leadership abilities or courage to order a nationwide stay at home, it's just outrageous. And it really makes us vulnerable. So while I'm encouraged that in some of the states it appears to begin to be flattening off a little bit, like in Washington State and in California, I think that we're still a ways from that in North Carolina, and I'm concerned that this will give people a false sense of security and confidence that we're past it, and we're a long way past that because we're going to have infected people in our midst for a long, long time. And we remind everybody that you can be asymptomatic and still a carrier, or pre-symptomatic, and you not know it. We can't advance. And I was out early this morning doing grocery shopping, and a lot of people are wearing masks, and people are really respecting each other's space. And so I think it's possible for people to really reduce, but as long as everybody in the country is not participating in this, Governor George is letting people go back to the beach, this is going to prolong the problem and result in a lot more suffering and a lot more deaths. On that encouraging note, I'll take questions if we have any.
Yeah, let's. People have questions for Dr. Graham, Dr. Doyle Graham, for people who are joining online. Mike.
Hey, Doyle.
Yes.
How you doing?
Pardon?
I said, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm healthy.
What are your feelings if we get a relapse in the fall? How are people going to react to this if we get shut down again and stay home?
Well, I don't know. I mean, there may be some people that are going to be really upset about it, but I think that, until Fauci and Birch are actually run off, we're going to have some voices in the administration underlining what can't be avoided, and that is with any peak coming in the fall, we're just simply going to have to go back. It's our only chance in the absence of widespread testing and until there is a vaccine. I guess the other thing I forgot to mention is my upset with our president giving medical advice and touting hydroxychloroquine, as a magical drug, or any other drug that has never been subjected to clinical testing. Because first of all, we don't know if it's effective, and second, there are toxic effects. And, the whole Food and Drug Administration approval process for drugs is around identifying what the side effects are, allowing physicians to make risk-benefit decisions. And that's just not the case with this compound or the other things. And of course, it makes me wonder how much Trump and his buddies and his family have invested in the companies that make.
He does have a financial interest in this drug. He does.
Oh, we know that? Oh, that is just outrageous.
Yeah. Penny, did you have a question?
I saw something on the news this morning, and it probably went on the WRAL news app, and saw that last month North Carolina got a B on a grade for social distancing, and so far this month we're a D minus. And I'm sort of thinking, okay, are people, getting antsy? They said, like, Greenville, South Carolina, people average 3.8 miles from their homes. The people in Greensboro, North Carolina, were 3 miles from their homes. So when I take a walk, it's 1.8 miles. So, I'm not sure the social distancing grades are that valid, but I just wondered if Doyle had some thoughts about that.
Well, I think it's really important. I just think it has to be emphasized again and again. And of course, I think the wearing of masks is more to protect others than to protect ourselves, as we know. But of course, it was extremely destructive for our president to say that, yeah, they're recommending masks, but I'm not going to wear one. I just think it's that kind of undercutting the scientific medical expertise that is so destructive. So people are getting mixed messages, and of course they're not. It's going to really significantly reduce the participation. It's significantly going to reduce illness and death. It just makes me just furious.
Well, Roy Cooper, I don't think is wearing a mask, and Andrew Cuomo is not wearing a mask. Although I do think the people they have behind them are at least 6 feet away.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're alone in a room and a microphone, I think that's okay. I think it's just when we're in contact with other people.
I have a question, Doyle. How can we best support medical professionals who are on the front lines here?
Well, I have a daughter and daughter-in-law that are in that position right now, and we sent them a care package yesterday of baked goodies. And this was in learning that they're both losing weight. Just the stress is just tremendous, and so I think that it's those kinds of messages of caring, of support, of gratitude. I saw a nurse demonstrating yesterday that she was not a hero. She was being involuntarily martyred by the incompetence of our government. And that really does it. So I think most people, nurses, doctors, are in that profession because they really want to serve people, and they're on top of that, they're taking tremendous risks, and for them to be shown the disrespect of inadequate personal protective equipment is just totally outrageous. It's just totally outrageous.
Okay, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your presence so much, Doyle. And, of course, resisting the Trump administration. Whoops.
We lost you.
Am I back now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to thank you so much. And also, I'm thinking that everything we do to resist the Trump administration right now and get a new Senate is ultimately supporting these people. So I want to turn now to this issue that Diane raised at the beginning and that Mike's going to lead a discussion about voter suppression in Wisconsin, specifically today.
Before we move on, can I just add a little something about medical staff?
Yes.
Or am I muted? I don't know.
No, you're not muted. You're fine.
Coming through.
Okay. Last week, I was trying to figure out what we could do to help. And I contacted an organization that literally just started. Last week was its first week working, but it's called Hospital Hero. And if the medical staff of any hospital or any clinic is interested in meals and other support, if they make a request from this to this group, and they have to be in number of more than 40, that group will organize. And I offered to do what I could to organize here. So if you have family members in local hospitals, working in local hospitals or clinics, if you would tell them about Hospital Hero, they may get some support from this group that's just now starting. And that was it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, over to Mike.
Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well and everybody's trying to stay as safe as they possibly can. In 2016, Wisconsin suppressed 200,000 people in the state from voting, and Trump won the state by less than 23,000 votes, a little over 22,700 votes. I did not have, Karen asked me to do this late this morning, or me, one of three, and I said, okay. So this is not something that I did. I'm going to give a plug to, I don't know if everybody or anybody other than me is getting morning update every day from Jeffrey Billman at the Indie Week. But he writes this, and today in his piece, he wrote about Wisconsin, and I'm going to read it to you. It's very informative. Wisconsin's governor shuts down tomorrow's primaries. The state Supreme Court reinstates them. You might have forgotten about this, but there's still a Democratic presidential nominating contest still underway, and there's a primary scheduled for Wisconsin today. Except holding a primary in the middle of a pandemic is a spectacularly awful idea. Wisconsin has already seen more than 2,400 COVID-19 cases and 77 deaths. There's a shortage of poll workers at over 100 of the state's municipalities might not even be able to staff one polling place, and the National Guard has been called in to bridge the gap, though that probably won't be enough. As Diane mentioned, Milwaukee has gone from having 180 polling places in a typical election to just 5. What happens when there aren't enough poll workers? Very long lines, no social distancing there, that usually end up in low-income communities of color. In other words, minorities who want to vote will have to wait a long time to do so, and then might get sick exercising their right. Since holding the primaries makes no sense, Governor Tony Evers has been trying to either push it back or make it easier for people to mail their ballots in. The problem is Evers is a Democrat, and the Republicans who control a heavily gerrymandered legislation barely acknowledge his right to exist, much less govern. They spurned Evers' calls to implement automatic vote by mail, send absentee ballots to every voter, and extend the state's strict deadlines to return absentee ballots. On Monday, Evers took matter into his own hands, issuing an executive order that delayed the election until June 9th and ordered the legislature into a special session. Republican lawmakers immediately appealed to the state Supreme Court, citing Evers' comments from last week that he had no authority to move the election date. In a 5-4 decision, the court's right-wing majority struck down the executive order. An hour later, the U.S. Supreme Court conservative struck down a lower court's ruling that gave voters until April 13 to return absentee ballots, writing in an unsigned opinion that allowed extra time fundamentally alters the nature of the election. And he's quoting, and here he's verbalizing as if the pandemic hadn't already done that. What it means, there's going to be an absolute nightmare of an election tomorrow, and thousands of people are going to have to risk getting sick, even dying, or not voting.
Today.
Before you ask, is there an ulterior motive? Sharing a spot on the ballot with the Democratic presidential contest is a hotly contested state Supreme Court seat. The Republican candidate is more likely to benefit from a low turnout, high absentee ballot election that essentially dares people in Wisconsin, Madison, and Milwaukee to stand in long lines to cast the ballots. The only plausible explanation for the Wisconsin GOP actions is to suppress their voting for their own benefit. That and the fact that at work keeps me from taking an optimistic view of where this country will land politically when this is all over.
Yeah, Diane, go ahead.
So thank you for giving us that update. I will send to Karen, and hopefully she'll send out to you. Today, there are phone banks that you can participate in to Wisconsin to help their voters go and vote. To the extent that you have to do something, that's something you can do. And there's also on that email that I'll send to Karen, a link for the webinar tonight that Democracy NC is doing on election 2020, because this is now going to be a template for all the battleground states moving forward, what happened in Wisconsin. Yeah. And we do have a little bit of a backstop with our state Supreme Court, but we don't have any remedy with our legislature. So all the information that we can glean on how to move forward in North Carolina will be helpful. And if you want to participate in the Democracy NC webinar, it's still open for registration. And if you have time to join me and many others around the country to call into Wisconsin, there is a link for that. But, we're all Wisconsin now. And this is, not only are they suppressing the vote, but they're also opening, as you said, the part of Milwaukee that has already been the highest struck by the coronavirus to the African-American population in order to secure this Supreme Court seat that they're trying to win. So I just want to reinforce that we can take some action from our houses today by calling and participating in the webinar.
Diane, can you put the link to that webinar in the chat window?
Maybe I can. Let me see if I can figure out how to copy and paste it while I'm in the webinar.
Okay, yeah. Is it Democracy NC webinar? Is that what you said?
It is, but there's a link to do this, a Zoom link. So let me see if I can find it and copy it and paste it.
Okay. Yeah. What else did you notice about this whole story, you all?
For me, just the action of the Supreme Court supporting it.
That is really disturbing.
Now that's why we have no remedy, because we have no court.
Yeah.
This is like pre-fascism.
Yeah. That was the most disturbing thing to me.
Ginsburg's dissent was scathing.
I bet.
It's also another situation with a Democratic governor and a Republican legislature, which we're suffering from also.
Karen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Bessie. Go ahead.
Microphone has cramped out. Can you hear me, Karen? If
yes,
you can,
yes.
Please let me in on my phone.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. What's your phone number?
Bessie.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Bessie, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, you're 202, right? You're 202? Bessie?
Karen, YH is 202.
Okay, I don't know how to let... Bessie, are you in?
We can see you and hear you.
You are muted.
Okay, this is scary.
Bessie will have to mute her mic on her computer if she's dialing in from her phone. You have two mics on.
I think I'm in. I'm hearing some noise, but I just hung up on me.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm still trying to figure this out too.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
The same thing's going to happen, guys. So if you use your phone and your PC microphone is hooked up, you're going to get that feedback. You have to mute your PC microphone. That's it. You have to mute your PC microphone.
Please enter the meeting password followed by pound.
I don't think her speakers are probably not working, so she doesn't know that her microphone's working.
You are in the meeting now. There are more than 40 participants in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded. You have been put on hold by the host. Not listen.
You guys, this could be a hack. I think.
Karen, I just entered the link to Democracy NC tonight.
Yes, yeah.
I don't think it's a hack, Karen. I think what we're hearing is Bessie on her trying to get in on her other device. You can only have one device on at a time, or this is the kind of thing that will happen.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
I do want to remind people that though we have a Republican legislature, we have a Democratic governor and we have a Democratic leaning court in our state, and that really defends us to some extent from vote suppression, but we're going to have to work on it.
Yes, and one thing that I think is a really important thing to do is to go to that comments section of the NCGA. It has a committee on COVID-19. That link is on Democracy NC website, and it's also in the tiny letter. And you can submit a comment to the NCGA COVID-19
I think it
subcommittee
yesterday, but I'm not positive.
Oh, really? Really?
I think but try it. If it's still open, it'll be open.
Oh, okay.
I thought the comment period ended yesterday, but that doesn't mean you can't comment directly to your representative.
Okay.
Whoever your rep is, go ahead. And Greer Martin is the head of that committee, I believe. But, relate to whoever your rep is and tell them what your comments are. There's also 3 documents, one by DemNC, one by the State Board of Election Committee, and one by the NCD, North Carolina Democratic Party, with recommendations. And those are documents that will be helpful to see what we're asking for.
Is there any kind of organized effort to get vote by mail for this November?
Well, that's what these documents are about. They are this committee has to take into account the recommendations, and then they have to present. Some are legislative remedies, which we are not likely to get. Some are administrative remedies that they're trying to get. But all of this is about trying to get vote by mail in different ways. So I'm happy to send those documents again to Karen, and she can send them out to the group. But I'm trying to put stuff on this chat for you right now about the webinar tonight and the phone bank for Wisconsin, if those of you who can help with that.
Diane, I put the link up there.
You put what link up?
Mike,
the webinar? Oh, I see it. Good. Thank you, Mike. All right. So I also put a link up there if you want to make phone calls to help people in Wisconsin this afternoon. That link is up there as well.
Bessie.
Berger says it will not happen, and that is my guess, is that it will not happen. But it doesn't mean that there won't be court challenges to that. So the sooner they recommend something, the sooner there can be challenges to that. And, the more publicity we get out about it, that does encourage people to go and vote if they know they're being intimidated into not voting. So.
Karen, just so you know, I'll grab the chat before you close down the meeting so that we'll have all of that information and we don't lose it again. Okay,
let me say this also to encourage us. One of the recommendations that was made in the Wisconsin case and is being made by Klobuchar and Wyden is to have 20 days of early voting. Well, we already have 17 days of early voting. And the reason that they're recommending that is that it gives more people more time to go and vote without physical contact. So one of the things that we can take action on is to start educating people about the need to go and vote early soon. Because what happens is everyone goes to vote early the last 3 days. And the first part of early voting has not been as well utilized as it should be. So some of this we already have in place. We have that infrastructure, but we as grassroots organizers need to do education with everybody about going to vote early and starting that process sooner rather than later. So that's just one thing we can do that we already have.
And how do you think is the best way to do that?
Well, all of us have networks and have conversations with people and tie into whatever your other networks are, if they're faith groups or your neighborhood groups. And really, right now, start having that conversation, because people are not aware that some of the things that are being asked for by other states, we already have. We have no excuse absentee ballot requisition, except now, one of the things we're asking for is to not have the witness signature to be a part of it, because that slows down people's process. We're asking for self-addressed, for them to be stamped when they go out so that people won't have to go and find stamps. So we're asking for tweaks on what we already have to make it easier. But if we got none of that, if people use their own resources to help people use what we already have, we would be better off than most states. And it's going to come down to North Carolina at this point, because we have a governor, we currently have a Democratic governor who can push back on some of this. We have a Democratic Supreme Court. So a lot of the things that other states don't have, we have, and we need to make the best use of it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Nancy, were you trying to talk? I don't know if she can hear us.
So,
okay.
Karen.
Go ahead, Galia.
I posted this in the group chat, but I'm from the Milwaukee area, and my sister's still there, and her friends, who I'm friends with also, Kathy's just I was so overwhelmed between deaths and working late and everything. I couldn't get anything, and now I've got to take my life in my hands to vote. So, I feel kind of bad encouraging people to vote when, it's dangerous. It's so dangerous. So
I haven't looked at the script yet, but the script may be telling people that they have already received an absentee ballot. It may tell them how to fill it out, because they did already mail out a lot of absentee ballots. So it may be that the list is encouraging people to fill those ballots out and mail them today, because they didn't get the extension to the 13th. So as I said, I don't know what's in the script yet.
Right. In Kathy's case, she wasn't able to request one. She was just too overwhelmed. So
Understood. Yeah, the viciousness.
Note, I see.
Of this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just taking in the incredible level of viciousness involved in this particular voter suppression, and at the highest level of government, this is a good moment to invite Randa to sing a little song. I asked if she would just sing to center us and bring us a little deeper for the next conversation.
Karen asked me to sing a cappella today. This.
Karen, can you put everyone on mute while Randa sings, please? Thanks.
We are all gathered here, and we will rise up out of the valley, trying to get home. We find our strength and we share our pride, and nobody can steal what lives inside. We will rise up out of the valley, trying to get home. Gonna do it one more time. Ooh. Oh, we got grief. Oh, yes, we got fear. But here we are, all gathered here, and we will rise up out of the valley, trying to get home. Listen, we find our strength and we feel our pride. Nobody can steal what lives inside. I know that. I know that. I know that. And we will rise up out of the valley, trying to get home. Yeah.
That was lovely.
Thank you.
So, taking it all in, into this silence, let's just speak what's on our hearts and on our minds that we want to bring to one another. And meanwhile, Mark put the voting dates into the chat room. So check the chat room once in a while.
I have a lot of fear at this moment, and it's not fear of the virus. It's fear of what our government has in store for us in not only suppressing our vote, but taking away our liberties and especially our right to assemble and dissent when we're able to do that. I think the handwriting is on the wall.
You've got a text message.
And I think we have to be very vigilant and find ways to, as we are here. And I'm just so grateful for you, Karen, and for everybody who's on the call for being willing to come together and look for ways that we can resist what I think we all know might be coming. And I'm
Hold on a minute, Vicki, hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you. Yeah, there's a clicking coming from somewhere. That's really all I wanted to say, that I'm far more afraid of what the future is going to look like than I am of the virus. And I hope that we can stay as connected as we are right now and in a meaningful way to make a difference. I'm hoping that we can find creative ways of protesting when our votes are taken, when when they continue to isolate us from each other long after it's necessary to do that, when a lot of our ways of communicating are shut down. My daughter-in-law told me that because of the Zoom bombing, the school district there, which had been doing distance learning, has banned the use of Zoom. And it is possible that some of our ways of communicating will not be available to us at other person, at will, willfully by other people. So anything that we can do to be creative and to continue holding hands across these social distancing and maybe the car caravans, maybe whatever else people are thinking, but I think we need to speak up now while we still can.
Thank
and
you.
I'll mute myself.
Thank you. Pat.
Yes.
I read in the week that Trump has been playing favorites with the distribution of medical supplies from the stockpile, that he has been sending them to people who are flattering him or to Republican governors in full orders and only fractional orders to Democrats or people he is miffed with. Have the rest of you heard that from other sources?
Yes, clearly. This is definitely going on. Sandy, I have to unmute you, I think, but first I have to find you. Okay, got you. Go ahead, Sandy. You're muted, and I have unmuted you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't want to take away from what he just said because I've watched that. Florida got more than what they needed or asked for. New York is struggling. But something on my mind is watching in the news. On my mind is COVID-19 and the push to get, of course, people health care that they need, get people food, and on the other hand, jobs, the economy. But the other thing, and most critical, is this is caused by global warming, and we're not talking about that at all. There's another pandemic coming. This is going to keep coming. And NC Warren said something that shocked me the other day. It's not 10 years away. It's 2 to 3 years away. So one other thing in the news, very interesting. Supposedly MBS and Putin are fighting over oil, cheap oil. Right. And Trump is going in to help try to work out a deal. Well, what they're trying to do is break our shale industry here. You know, he thinks he's going in to help them. They're going to do him in. I don't know if that's such a bad thing. What do you think?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Gary, did you want to talk?
Yeah, I wanted to mention something. Let's see. Okay, I'm unmuted. On First Amendment. First Amendment is something I am concerned about quite a bit. First Amendment guarantees us the right to peaceably assemble. And as we worry about the ability to assemble as a group, as we do in front of the federal building, in the current environment, with people getting that close together, I don't consider that to be peaceable assembly. That is violent assembly. It goes two ways. I'm involved in the abortion protection area as a escort at a clinic, and I've seen news stories from the past the past week, that at the clinics in Greensboro and the clinic in Charlotte, anti-abortion protesters have continued to show up at those clinics, and in both of those areas they've been arrested and prevented from continuing to show up. That's not happening in Raleigh. There are still protesters showing up in Raleigh, but they're not. The police are not doing anything about that. We do have to watch out, though, because there'll be people that will be plenty interested in using any excuse they can to shut down any protest movement in terms of assembly after this crisis is over. That excuse will probably linger for quite a while. Back to you, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you. So I just want to invite you all during these times between people talking to breathe and know that we're all connected to each other. We're not alone. Let's see, we got a couple of hands raised. Oh, no, you already talked. Anybody else want to say anything? Galia.
Oh, Ellen.
I mean, I wrote this in the chat. Thank you, Gary. Like, one of the reasons I didn't go protest today is that the only protesters I know going on now are the anti-abortion zealots. And it is a big problem. And the other thing is, like,
okay,
I know Greensboro people got arrested and turned around and sued right away. Like, they're using this for publicity, not taking it, seriously at all. And they're also really close together. So it's disgusting.
Elena? Good. I just unmuted you.
Thank you. This is, I'm going to ask people to take a huge step back, deep breath. Sunday morning, Pastor Nancy Petty provided a sermon that lifted the black cloud for me. You can go on I can link it in here, or I'll send it to you, Karen.
Do both.
Two things. I want you to I know this suffering. I know this is scary. I know this is horrendous. But we need to think of it from a different perspective. Right now, right here, this is the exact time we need to change the world.
Yeah.
And because it is capital and greed are a worldwide problem. God doesn't send plagues. God doesn't send horrible things. God is watching it because man and women filled with greed created this. The guy who lives on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, he's the trophy. He is the poster boy for greed. And we all need to suffer through this because such a shift is possible. Such an absolute turning of the world upside down so that we can come out and birth a new world. I was at a watch night service a couple of years back in DC, and a woman spoke there, and she said, don't look at this darkness as the darkness of a tomb, but look at this darkness at the darkness of a womb. We have the potential to birth something amazing. We have to hold on to each other. We have to support one another, and we will get through this. We will get through this. This is a possibility. This is an opportunity. And I know it's a huge leap of faith that I'm asking people to even consider, but I'm asking you to consider it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know that's true. I know that's right. I know that's true. And that's why it feels so scary right now. There's a huge, massive energy shift, and we have to go with it. It is like birth, we can't hold it in. Yeah.
When everybody was dying of AIDS, it was, of course, so horrific. And as all of us have experienced death, however a person died. But in that time, there was an incredible spiritual surge of just an open-hearted way of living. It was, so you could see these possibilities, of what Elena's just described. So I believe that, and I've tasted it, but then we revert, then, life, this other life comes back, barreling back. Yeah.
So are you experiencing too this thing where we have to keep tuning into the horrors on the one hand so that we know what's happening. We know what's happening with voter suppression. We know what's happening with the virus. And then tuning into something completely different at the same time so we can shift our own being along with what is being born. Can anyone speak to that about what's helping you do that? Yes, hold on. Jewel.
Last week there was a teach-in by Zoom with Karen. Help me, okay?
Yeah.
With
Angela Davis
and
Naomi Klein
and 3 young organizers, young adult organizers, and the name of the organization, Karen, was the big one.
It was Working Families Party, maybe. I can't remember. I can look it up.
It is the Working Families Party. Yep.
Yeah. Was one of them, and it was something arising, majority arising, and it was so profound for me because they made the connections so clear that global capitalism places no value whatsoever on human life or any kind of life or experience. Not just humans, but all beings don't even count in global democracy. Global capitalism and the patriarchy. They were also talking about that these systems are what brought us to where we are today, including to the climate crisis, which yes, is driving essentially these plagues. So even though they were talking about the causes and conditions of where we are now, they were also talking about what Elena was saying, which is this is a time of opportunity to address the issues in a different way. And so in terms of uplift, I really urge people to go to that website, which I think it's Majority Arising, which it was 3 different organizations at least. And I got the impression many ways to be involved with these people who are thinking in really, really new and out of the box ways about how we can respond, not just resist, but in fact take an approach that will break it open.
Break it open.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, something Reverend Barber, of course, has been talking about forever, shifting the moral narrative. There's never been a better opportunity for shifting the narrative than right now. We have no choice. And probably you've been also reading these articles about how the entire Republican playbook has been completely blasted apart now. So it's very hopeful. If we can just hang on, it's very hopeful. And there's wonderful resistance. I'm trying to check into the chat too. There's some great stuff coming up in the chat. And Vicki is going to save it for us, and I'm going to try to send it out to people. I think that all of us are connecting in our own way to the things that are helping us with this other piece of shifting in a deep spiritual way as well as a deep political way. And I just know that you're all finding your own way. One thing to suggest, if you feel like you're not, is that Karen and Keith are doing another book study group. And you can email me if you want information about that. Randa and I and a couple other people just did that. It was nice because it was a group of people talking together about a Joanna Macy book, which really talked about a lot of stuff. You know Joanna Macy, but if you're not finding something to keep returning to, like many of us just keep returning to the same teachers or preachers, email me, because that might be a good thing to do. And they're starting a new group on April 18th. Mike, were you trying to get in here? Mike Eisenberg?
Yes, I wanted to say something to Gary about the First Amendment.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody remembers this back in 2017 when they had a shooting in Charlotte and a young black man was killed. And they shut down the highways and some of the major streets. And the General Assembly, I can't remember which the committee was or the committee man, head of the committee, but he's retired, brought up an economic terrorism bill that stifled protest. And I was at the meeting and I got up and talked. And after I talked, Mickey Michaud said to the leader, he said, if all these things were on the books in the 1960s, I would have never gotten out of jail. And Chuck McGrady, a Republican who is also retired now, said, I stand with Mickey. And the whole thing fell apart. If it hadn't been for Chuck McGrady and Mickey Michaud, that would have been a law now in North Carolina. So be wary that the First Amendment, they will come for certain things there.
Thank you. We're going to have a closing song in a few minutes. Can anyone volunteer to write up the chat window? Vicky's going to save it, but it needs to be put into categories. There are sort of spiritual resources, political resources. I think that Jewel is keeping track of everyone who's on here. Vicky, can you do that? Yes, thank you. And then Jewel can send it out because she has been keeping track of who's here.
Okay.
Okay, Vicki? Okay.
Yeah, I can do that, and I can arrange it. It's a little hard to read in its form because it's unformatted, but I'll take care of that and try to make some sense out of it so it's easier to find what you're looking for. I also wanted to mention, I just put in the chat that Lone Tran, who lives here in Durham and is with Southern Vision Alliance, was one of those 3 young thinkers that Jewel mentioned. They were all brilliant, and there is I'm trying to capture, and I'll send out a link to where you can actually see the whole thing. It was more than worth your time to take a second look at it.
Great. Sandy?
Yes.
Did you want to say something?
That my hand wasn't up.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You can okay. I'm sorry. Bessie? Did you want to say something? Oh, I can't seem to unmute you. Can you unmute yourself? The little microphone in the left. Bessie, put it in the chat because I can't seem to make your sound come. Okay. So much like I think we're all discovering, okay. I have tried to figure out how to make more than one. No, I can't unmute you. I'm so sorry.
Unmute yourself because the host muted you.
Did Bessie turn on the audio?
I've unmuted everyone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. I don't know what you did, but it must.
I had to unmute everyone though, so go ahead.
I have a question for Olinda. Olinda, I missed a lot of this because I was having trouble with my speaker, so maybe you've gone over this already. But I tried to join NAACP in Moore County, and 2 different branches come up to select from, and I wasn't sure which one to select, or even if it mattered, to make sure that Olinda gets the money.
Good.
Olinda, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, I'm Moore County, and our branch number is 5421.
Okay.
Thank you. So Linda, while we have you, do you want to give us any updates on how it's going with delivering food?
It's going well. We're working with our political action guy, Laurel Salmon. He is working together to get chefs, and he's got a kitchen where once maybe the food stops being delivered, and the farmers working with farmers also. So that's a future plan that we have right now. We're getting the chef, a kitchen, and round up some people who will be able to volunteer to deliver meals, hot meals. We're hoping this is going to be hot meals using the farmers' plants or their garden that they cannot get rid of. I mean, they can't sell it. So that's what the future plan is going to be. We're working on that right now. We just got our community, Hispanic community factory closed in Asheboro. So a lot of them, within a week of maybe, another week, there's going to be hard times. So the money that's coming in, we're buying groceries and we're making sure that the food that they like, you know what I'm saying? The tortillas and some other all-purpose flour and stuff. We're buying things like that for them and taking it to the Catholic Church in Robbins, and he's distributing out.
So how can we help you?
Well, I want everybody just to be on hold, and because you never know when the plan comes that with the chefs and the people who's going to be cooking food that it's going to be time to move. So we never know at this point what's going to happen. So I'm putting everybody on hold.
Thank you, Diane.
And I just appreciate everything.
Yeah.
So Olinda, Karen has suggested that we join NAACP Moore County, and that would help you. Is that still?
No, that would be wonderful.
Okay.
That would be wonderful. Yes.
Can you send a link?
We do appreciate that.
Can you send a link to join?
You can send our mailing address. And I think Betsy, ours is post office box 1351, Southern Pines. Is that correct?
It wasn't the last time. I'll send it in the next one. I'll send it.
Yeah, it was in previous tiny letter.
This is Diane. I just wanted to alert everybody on the call that as of I think it's this week, no more lunches will be distributed to the Durham school.
Really?
Right. Yeah, because of the virus. And so there may be a call out from Durham for food or assistance with those kids that have been getting meals because they won't get any more from now until the school.
I just read that actually they've got the food and now they need the people to volunteer to deliver it on the DPS site today.
Okay, everybody who's watching on the Tuesdays with Tillis Facebook group and watching on the Triangle Talk Show YouTube group, I'm going to have to bail out of the Zoom conference. I've got to get to the hospital and go get a radiation treatment. So I'm going to miss the closing song. But if you're wondering how this all comes about, then you need to let Karen know, Karen Ziegler, on the Tuesdays with Tillis Facebook group that you want to participate in the Zoom conference, and she'll give you the information on how to do that. They'll be doing this every Tuesday between 11:30 and 12:30 until they can get back out on the street and get back to doing the protest in person. So that will be it for the Triangle Talk Show's participation in this Zoom conference, and we expect to be back next week. And wish I could keep on going with this one, but I gotta get out of here and get over to Rex. So thanks for watching on this version of the Zoom conference, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Over and out.